Ready, fight!
Welcome to the cave. What's going on, team? Caveman here from Caveman Bets, bringing you my prediction video for week 1 of the Premier League season. It's finally here. We're finally getting football back. Oh, I can't wait, and we're going to have some cracking matches to get into this week. Now, of course, guys, we've got a brand new channel here. We're going to be giving you everything sports betting related. We're going to be breaking down EPL, NFL. We're going to be going through the rugby league, anything you can bet on. So give the channel a subscribe, like this video, leave some comments, let me know what you think as your predictions for the Premier League this season, whether it be a season-long prediction, whether it be for this week only, and let's try and beat the bookies together. Alright guys, so I'm going to be bringing you one of these videos every single week this season. We're going to track our results, see how we do. Now, if you want to get my official picks and official releases, go to blackswanbets.com/caveman. There you can get my tips. I've got tips coming out for the NRL, the EPL, the NFL when that starts up in a couple of weeks, all for a very, very low price. So absolutely come on, check it out, and let's win some money together. The link will be in the description below, so you'll be able to check it out there. Let's get into it, team. So the first game of the Premier League season, we have Brentford, the team coming up versus Arsenal. Now, I love week 1 because you get to see these brand new teams in the Premier League. A team like Brentford, maybe they've deserved to be there the last few years. Well, you could definitely say that. Arsenal, you could almost say that they don't deserve to be there over the last few years. They have not played well at all. But this week, I really don't like backing newly promoted teams, especially ones that haven't been in the Premier League for... I just can't do it. I can't do it. So Brentford, their biggest thing last season was their attack. They were a bit lackluster in defence. It was all about Tony and then building through the midfield and attacking through there. Arsenal, they're a team that has been weak at the back, but they've also had a lot of youngsters, a lot of young players that have been learning the system, growing while they've been doing that. And I think this is the season that they start to kick out. So I'm going to go for my first prediction here. It may be a wee bit square, but I'm going to take Arsenal to win this one. And I'm going to go Arsenal 2-1. Like I say, I really don't like taking newly promoted teams in the first week of the season. It's a big jump between the Championship and the Premier League, and Arsenal, well, they need to put up some results or heads are going to start rolling. Our next game, we have Manchester United versus Leeds, and this was a cracker of a series last year. Manchester United did some really good things towards the end of the season. Leeds looked like a great attacking outfit for the entire year. But when we look at each team's defence, this is where they're miles apart. Man United's got definitely a top 5 defence in the competition. Leeds, easily a bottom 5 defence. And there hasn't been too much that Leeds have done to be able to fix this. I mean, I like Calvin Phillips sitting in that holding midfield spot, but they really don't have a lot around him. So I'm going to go with Manchester United in this one. I mean, Man United made some great signings. I'm going to take them 2-0. And as they look to build into the season, I can see Leeds having a few shots, but ultimately not being able to crack the defence. Our next game up, we have Burnley versus Brighton. And this is a tough game to call. Burnley has been a team in the past that's always done well at home, especially defensively. Obviously, their attack's been very average over the last few seasons, but defensively they've been sound. Brighton, another team, defensively they've been sound over the last few years, and question marks surrounding their attack. Look, this one's pretty straightforward for me. I'm going to take the draw, and I'm going to take 0-0. I can't see either of these teams breaking through. Both defensive-minded teams with defensive-minded coaches. Week 1 of the season. This is going to be a boring game to watch, I have to say, but I'm going to take the 0-0 draw in this one. Next one up, we have Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. I don't like Crystal Palace this season. Roy Hodgson leaving, I just don't think that's going to be good for their defence. Crystal Palace has been a team that's had to rely on their defence over the last few seasons. They showed last year when they let in the third most goals in the league that, it's coming to an end. Patrick Vieira is definitely not known as a defensive-minded coach in any sense. Chelsea, Tuchel, wow. They showed some signs at the end of last season. When Tuchel came in, they completely turned this team around. They had the best defence in the Premier League over the last 10 games or so. I mean, they won the Champions League. They beat Manchester City 3 times in a row at the end of the season. I like Chelsea, and I don't think there's any way that Crystal Palace can get them. Hey, maybe Chelsea haven't quite got that attack figured out. Lukaku signed up, but he's going to be a couple of weeks away. So I'm going to still go with Chelsea here, and I'm going to go 3-0. I just don't like that Crystal Palace defence at all. Chelsea to get off to a flying start. Our next game up is Everton, and we have Everton versus Southampton. Now, Southampton is a team that is definitely on the decline. Danny Ings was their best player. Maybe you could say James Ward-Prowse is in that argument as well. He doesn't look like he's going to be playing in this game. Danny Ings is gone. What can you say that's positive about Southampton? They've had a poor defence for a couple of years. They don't have any good building players in the midfield, with James Ward-Prowse out at the moment. And who's going to attack? I mean, Shea Adams really doesn't show a lot of promise at all. On the other hand, you have an Everton team with brand new coach Rafael Benitez coming in. I like him. I think he's a decent coach and he should be able to do well with this Everton side. Now, the only issue that I have with this Everton side is who's going to be starting. So the defence in the midfield looks set, but it's up front. So Richarlison has just come back from the Olympics. He's probably going to have to take a couple of weeks off to get his body ready for the start of the season. So I can't see him playing this week, probably not next week either. Dominic Calvert-Lewin hasn't played any of the preseason. He's been under an injury cloud. I think Calvert-Lewin plays. Now that's where I'm putting my chips anyway. Even if he doesn't, Gray's been playing well during the preseason games. Maybe not so much the Man United game, but look, a lot of people are saying Everton's had a poor preseason, and a lot of that has come down to the fact they got 4-0 by Man United. They're not in the same class as Man United this season. Everton are a team that's going to be in that 10th to 7th category. That's kind of where they live at the moment. Man United's a top 4 team. There's no doubt about that. So I kind of see where people are coming from, but they had a lot of injuries in that game. So you can't just solely justify how they're going to act this season because of that one game. All that said and done, I like Everton to win here, and I like Everton to win 1-0. Look, Everton are just so much better than Southampton. Southampton look bad. They're going to need to make a lot of changes, a lot of signings to get this team up to Premier League quality, or they could be going down this season. It could legitimately happen. I mean, they've had issues from the back to the front for a few years now. Danny Ings was really their saviour for a couple of seasons, but with Ings gone, they have to do something. What they have right now is not going to cut it in the Premier League. Moving on to our next game, we have Leicester versus Wolves. Now, Leicester, great team last season, 5th, year before 5th. They're a solid 5th place team, and they're going to be playing European football this season. Brilliant for them. Wolves, change of manager. I really like Nuno. Unfortunately, he's gone to some other club, and let's see what he does with Spurs. But this one is interesting. Now, if this game happened week 6, week 8, week 10, I would tell you I would be quite happily on the Leicester side. But let's have a look what this Leicester side has got right now. Sure, they beat Man City in the Community Shield Challenge, but I don't read too much into that. Man City played a lot of backups in that game. They kind of just threw that game just for the fact of resting the players that needed to be rested. If you look at what this Leicester team's going in with, they're going to be missing their first two choice centre-backs. They're going to be missing James Justin, who's a fringe starter anyway. They're going to have Jamie Vardy, but I think this is the season we see Vardy take a step back. We saw that at the end of last year. He conceded a lot of chances to Inácio, and I'm going to be honest here, Inácio's not that great of a player. So the fact that he was letting Inácio take the lead and take more of control of that attack, it really does speak wonders to me of how he's actually going to be going. They brought the new player, Daka, in as well, to I believe is going to be a Vardy replacement. Probably by the end of the season, I would say Vardy won't be a starter in this side. And as I was saying, Inácio, he's not as nailed on as people think. People think, all right, they're definitely going to be playing the 4-1-2-1-2. I think it is the system they usually like to employ there. I can't see that going well for them. Inácio's a second striker. If he has to take the lead again, the reason that he was doing so well last season was because everyone was taking Vardy out of the game. And then they realised, oh, well, this guy can actually play. This season, they know, well, we're not going to have to worry about that too much. Let's focus on this guy. And he's proven for years he can't get past double teams. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go. They're going to have a leaky defence to begin this season until they get some starters back. Wolves, sure, they're going through a coaching change, but they get Raul Jimenez back, which is massive for them. That was the one issue that Wolves had last season, was Jimenez was gone and they didn't have that big guy that could lead the line. With Jimenez back, I think this team could surprise some people. Now, I don't have them doing particularly well in the Premier League this season, mainly because of that coaching change, and it'll be interesting to see how the Portuguese do under a non-Portuguese coach. But hey, this week, I'm taking Wolves. I'm taking Wolves on the upset over Leicester to get a 1-0 away win. Look, I think everyone's going to be on Leicester. They're just going to think, oh, it'll be a sure thing. Write it in. I don't think so much. I mean, this midfield, the defensive midfield pairing that they're going to be going in with, it's unproven. It's untested. Raul Jimenez can score from outside the box. He's got a brilliant header. I think Wolves can get it. A 1-0 to the Wolves from a Raul Jimenez header. I'm going to go with that. Our next game up, we have Watford versus Aston Villa. Now, Watford, of course, another team that's been promoted from the Championship this year. We've seen them recently, and they had a solid side for a few years in the Premier League. That's not the side they have this year, absolutely not. They're missing a lot of players that they had when they were up last. They do still have Sarr, and Sarr is a brilliant player. I'll absolutely give them that. They have another few pieces that are quite nice as well. Aston Villa. A lot of people are high on Aston Villa this season. I'm not as high as people are. So, Aston Villa's defence has been sketchy. Very, very sketchy. And they haven't done a lot to improve that. They're missing a proper holding midfielder. Martinez is a good keeper, but he's not great. I mean, he does well for the saves. Absolutely. He can really move across the goal. But he has shown games where he'll let 4, 5, 6 goals in. So you can definitely say, Villa, their defence is suspect. An attack, look, on paper, that attack is great. Absolutely brilliant. And it's deep. It runs deep. You've got El Ghazi, you've got Trezeguet. These guys aren't even going to make the starting lineup. But last year there was Chelsea. Chelsea had a great attack. They brought a great attack, just like Aston Villa's done this season. What did that attack do? Absolutely nothing. They just couldn't pull it together. They brought all these different players in from different places who had never played the game of football together before, and they didn't work. By the time they got to the end of the season, it started to piece together. And that's what I see is going to happen with Aston Villa. They're going to get to the end of the season and it's going to start to piece together for them. At the start of the season, look, I just don't think they're going to have a lot of success. They've got an embarrassment of riches. I mean, it's not PSG riches, but it's good, solid players for a team in the Premier League. Look, it's just not going to happen straight away. People are expecting this team to be incredible from the offset. It's not going to happen. It's going to take time for them to build up. Absolutely. Next season, I'll probably be extremely high on Aston Villa. With the players they have, plus the Jack Grealish war chest, yeah, they're going to be a great team in years to come. The first half of the season, limit your expectations. I have to say, limit your expectations. In saying that, I can't see Watford beating the 1-0 Aston Villa. But a lot of people are saying this game should be a 3-0, a 4-0, a 5-0. You know, Aston Villa should go out there and crush them. I just can't see it happening. The strength that Watford had in the Championship was their defence. You know, they're not going to score a lot of goals this season. Sar's great, but he doesn't really have anyone to link up with in the middle. They've got 3 or 4 strikers that, by the looks of it, might rotate. There's no clear favourite to be in the middle for that team. So we'll just have to wait and see, but hey, Aston Villa 1-0 on this one, and let's reassess how they are mid-season. Look, I hope I'm wrong. I don't mind this Aston Villa team at all, but I think it's going to take some time. Moving down to the next game, we have Norwich versus Liverpool. Norwich, of course, the third team that's come up this season, and they are not good. They're a bit of a yo-yo team, up and down, up and down. This year they're up. Next year they'll be down. It's just the way that it goes. Look, they sold their best player. They moved into the Premier League and sold their best player. That's something I just can't understand. Look, sure you wanted to try and fund some moves to make other players come in, but they didn't even really do that. They haven't really increased any other aspects of the team. They just let Buendia go. They still have Max Aarons and they still have Todd Cantwell and Teemu Pukki. So they've still got 3 good players. The rest of the team, it's not so good. Liverpool. Liverpool has come through the pre-season quite well. Obviously, they've been a wee bit short-handed for most of it. Roberto Firmino was out, so Diogo Jota stood up. And Jota's a great player. He can easily score goals when he's in that lineup. I think Firmino's performance that he had in the final preseason game will win him that spot back, and he'll be the starting centre forward. Mane had a good preseason, Salah not so much. I can't say how many times we've seen this for the last 3 years. Salah's had an average preseason. Mane's had a great preseason. Everyone's thought, oh wow, this is going to be Mane's year. They go into the game 1. Salah scores 2 goals, Mane gets an assist. Game week 2, Salah scores 2 more goals, Mane gets 1. All of a sudden, we know exactly who the golden child is in this team. It's going to be Mo Salah, and Mo Salah's going to lead this team once again. He doesn't need to look great on the preseason, to be honest. He just needs to show up and show that he has the fitness, and he did that. So Mo Salah to come through in this game, I think he's going to be brilliant. This game was played a couple of years ago in week 1. I think Liverpool went 4-0 in that game, if I can remember correctly. So I see a very similar line for them this week. I'm going to go 3-0, just for the fact I always like to temper the goals down in week 1. People like to pick all these crazy scores that are going to happen, especially when you've got a team that's going to be in the top 4 versus a team that's likely to be relegated again. 3-0, I think it's a tempered score, but it's a lot more likely than these 5, 6, 7-0s that people are bashing about there. Our next game up is Newcastle versus West Ham. Now, Newcastle, wow, they need to do something with this franchise. It's not even to do with the team or the manager. It's just the club in general. There's just underlying issues with this club. They've got some good players. I like Callum Wilson. I like St. Maximin. I like Matt Ritchie. They've got some really nice players. This season feels like it hinges, especially on Wilson and Maximin. They have to be healthy. They have to avoid injury. This week they're healthy. Both of them are going to be playing. That's great. Newcastle are definitely in a shot when these two players play. If these guys both aren't healthy for the entire season, this campaign could go downhill very, very fast. West Ham on the other side, pre-season, they've looked fantastic. They again have an embarrassment of riches. Jesse Lingard's gone, and that is a huge blow to the side. We saw last season, it wasn't until Lingard came in that they really started to get going. They were doing well before that, don't get me wrong, but Lingard kick-started this team to get them into that European conference, I think it is, that they're in. But yeah, West Ham, great side. And I see them having another good season. They're solid throughout the entire roster. From the back all the way to the front, they're a solid team and they've got depth. Antonio's injury concerns worry me. Antonio has a massive injury history, and he's going to go down at some point this season. That's one thing we know. Salah's going to score goals, and Antonio's going to go down. So just be aware, when Antonio does go down, this team might drop off a wee bit. But he's healthy week 1, and I'm going 2-1 West Ham to get the job done over Newcastle. Newcastle has traditionally been better at home, especially with their defence. And look, I wouldn't be surprised at all if this game went to a draw or if Newcastle even pulled it out. But I think with Antonio there, they're just going to be too strong this week. But just be aware, during the season, Newcastle are going to get a few nice wins at home. And like I say, if they do it in week 1, I wouldn't be shocked, but my pick is going to be on West Ham. And our final game up of week 1, we have Spurs versus Manchester City. Now, Spurs, by the sounds of it, are going to have Harry Kane playing, who hasn't played since the Euros. He hasn't played in any of the preseason. There is a massive rift between him and the club. He wants to go and play for the opposition, Man City. To be fair, I don't think they should play him, or I don't think they should start him. I think if they want to have him, they should bring him in off the bench. More of a fact of proving a point and saying, hey, look, we don't want to sell you. And we've made that abundantly clear. And because of the way that you've carried on, hey, we're going to, rope in your ego a wee bit, and you're going to come off the bench this week. And, let's just see how that affects his attitude and affects his behaviour. Look, I'm all for Harry Kane going to Man City, and I think it's going to do a lot of good things for the Spurs outfit, because the money that they make, they should be able to invest it wisely. But if we've seen anything from the Spurs outfit over the last 8 to 10 years, they don't know how to invest money wisely. They have just petered and potted, and really, there's something going on at that club. There really is. They've had good teams that have done bad, and they've had bad teams that have done well. And either way, all the coaches want out. Every single coach wants out. That's just how it is. I don't know if Nuno's going to last the season, which is sad because I think he's a great coach. But if they stroke together 3 or 4 losses in a row, they're going to get rid of him. I just don't think they've got a great ability to be able to do this in the Premier League. Like, something needs to be done. There needs to be a shake-up. The Spurs, they're going to just keep tumbling and tumbling and tumbling until someone realizes, oh wow, we're not even considered a top 2 or 3 tier team anymore. They'll be competing to try and make the top 10 instead of competing to make Europe. Now, Man City, obviously, they've brought in Jack Grealish. Great signing. They've still got a lot of the pieces there. Anyone that they have offloaded this season was a second tier player anyway, apart from Aguero, although Aguero has been falling off for the last couple of years. He could barely crack that first team lineup when he was healthy last season. So that I don't mind at all. Now, Man City, they're going to be great this year. I just feel it's Champions League or bust time. We've been saying this for a couple of years. They have to win the Champions League. This season, the Premier League, of course it matters, but like I say, it's Champions League or bust for Pep Guardiola. So we could get to the second half of the season and find all of these top tier players, Grealish, Mahrez, Sterling, De Bruyne, they're all getting rested and rotated a lot more than what even Pep would do, just to keep every single one of them fit and healthy to play in the Champions League. So in that saying, obviously I think they're going to be up there, definitely in the top 1 or 2 come Christmas time, and then it'll just be interesting to see what happens in the second half of the year. This game, look, 2-1 Man City. I think their defense is, of course, going to be strong, but I really like the Son-Mora combination. I think that's going to be a really good combination this season. Of course, if Kane plays, he's going to attract a lot of the attention as well, which is going to open those players up even more. So 2-1 Man City. Spurs' defense is, it's okay. It's definitely not great, but we will see how that ends up. Spurs aren't really set up for a Nuno system, so it will just be interesting to see how they line up and which players they want to put where. I think it's going to be quite a defensive style that they play. Alright guys, thank you very much. Those are my Premier League predictions for Week 1. Now guys, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, comment down below, throw in any predictions you want to make for the Premier League season this week in particular. I'm going to have a ton of content coming out. We've got videos coming out almost every day now. We also have a weekly sports betting show, so that'll come out around a Thursday or Friday, and we go through events that are happening over the weekend, break down what bets are good to make, where we like to place better edges. We're going to have special guests coming on to that as well. It's going to be full on, guys, so please subscribe so you can get all the notifications up for when the videos drop, and you can make the greatest edged estimations to be able to place great bets and beat the bookies. So thank you very much, team, and enjoy the Premier League. Cheers.